Have you ever experienced the quiet mental torture of having someone constantly invade your thoughts? That ex who still shows up in your dreams even after years of separation. The person whose words replay in your mind long after the conversation ended. Or maybe the one who hurt you so deeply that their face appears in your consciousness at the most unexpected moments. You can be busy. You can be moving forward. You can even be happy. And yet, they are still there. There is a profound reason why certain people occupy our mental space with such persistence. And today, we're going to uncover the deeper truth behind this phenomenon, a truth that explains not only why they remain, but what their presence in your mind is really trying to reveal. In this video, I will share the unmistakable psychological and emotional reasons why someone has taken residence in your thoughts, and the powerful path to finally freeing yourself from their lingering presence. You keep telling yourself it's love. That's why they are still in your head. That's why their name still hits you in the chest. That's why your mind keeps circling back, replaying moments, conversations, what ifs. You call it love because that feels noble. It feels deep. It feels meaningful. But be honest with yourself. Does love make you anxious the moment they don't reply? Does love make you question your value when they pull away? Does love make you feel small, restless, and afraid of being replaced? What you're feeling isn't love in its pure form. It's dependency wearing love's clothes. Somewhere along the way, you tied your worth to their attention. Their approval became your reassurance. Their presence became your stability. And when they stepped back, it didn't just feel like losing a person. It felt like losing the version of you that felt chosen. That's why your mind won't let them go. It believes they are the source of something you actually have to build within yourself. It replays their smile, their words, their validation, because it's trying to recover a sense of completeness that you outsourced. Dependency is loud. It panics. It obsesses. It tells you that without them, you are lacking. Real love doesn't beg. It doesn't cling. It doesn't make you feel like you're constantly auditioning for a place in someone's life. So when you feel that tightness in your chest, when your thoughts race toward them again, pause. Ask yourself what you're really afraid of losing. Is it them? Or is it the feeling of being enough when they were around? The breakthrough begins the moment you realize this. You're not trying to get them back. You're trying to get your sense of worth back. And that changes everything. It didn't feel like an ending. It felt like an interruption. One day you were in it, the conversations, the plans, the emotional rhythm. And the next day it was just silence. No real explanation. No final understanding. Just distance where there used to be connection. And your mind has been trying to fill in the blanks ever since. Some connections don't end cleanly. They stay open, like a door that was never fully shut. Words were swallowed. Apologies were never spoken. Questions were left hanging in the air with no one brave enough to answer them. So your brain keeps going back, replaying everything, searching for the missing piece that will finally make it make sense. You tell yourself you should be over it by now. But how do you move on from something that never felt complete? Be honest. Did it truly end, or did it just stop? There's a difference. An ending brings clarity, even if it hurts. It gives your heart something solid to stand on. But when something just stops, your mind keeps trying to finish the story. It rewrites conversations in the shower. It imagines the apology you never received. It creates scenarios where everything is finally explained. You're not obsessed with them. You're trapped in an unfinished emotional contract. A part of you is still waiting for resolution, still hoping for a final chapter that ties everything together. But here's the shift. Closure isn't always something they give you. Sometimes it's something you claim for yourself. It's the moment you accept that not every story gets a perfect ending, and not every question gets an answer. When you stop waiting for them to close the chapter, you finally pick up the pen, and that's when the loop begins to break. You think you're still thinking about them, but look deeper. It's not just their face or their voice that lingers. It's who you were when you were with them. Something in you came alive around that person. Maybe you felt more confident, more seen, more daring, or maybe the opposite happened. Maybe they exposed your insecurity, your jealousy, your fear of not being enough. Either way, they touched a nerve. And nerves don't forget easily. The people who stay in your thoughts are often the ones who awaken a hidden part of you, a side you didn't know how to access on your own. They became a mirror, and when they left, the reflection disappeared with them. So now your mind keeps replaying them, not because you're stuck on who they are, but because you're trying to reconnect with what they activated inside you. The ambition you felt when they believed in you, the vulnerability you showed when you felt safe, the hunger to grow, the fear of being rejected. They triggered something unfinished. This is where it shifts. Instead of asking why you can't stop thinking about them, ask what part of you they brought to the surface. What emotion did they intensify? What trait did they highlight? What wound did they press on? You're not haunted by a person. You're confronted by a reflection. And here's the breakthrough. That confidence, that passion, that awareness of your own insecurity, it was never theirs. It was always yours. They didn't create it. They revealed it. Once you stop chasing the mirror and start developing what it showed you, the grip begins to loosen, because you no longer need them to access that version of yourself. You become it on your own. And when that happens, the memory loses its power. You don't miss them the way you think you do. You miss the intensity, the late-night arguments that turn into desperate apologies, the rush of waiting for their message, the sudden highs after days of distance. Your heart racing, your stomach tight, your mind constantly alert. It felt alive. It felt powerful. It felt like something was always happening. And now that it's quiet, something in you feels empty. Intensity imprints itself on your nervous system. When love is chaotic, dramatic, unpredictable, your body starts to associate emotional spikes with connection. The stress, the longing, the relief, it becomes a cycle, a chemical loop. And when it's gone, your system doesn't crave the person as much as it craves the stimulation. That's why calm feels strange. That's why peace feels almost uncomfortable. When someone stable enters your life, you question it. You feel restless. You mistake steadiness for boredom because your body was trained to respond to turbulence. If calm ever felt unfamiliar to you, comment, "I'm learning peace." This isn't about weakness. It's about awareness. You were conditioned to believe that love had to feel intense to be real. So your mind replays the person who shook you, who destabilized you, who made you feel everything at once. Not because they were right for you, but because they activated your survival instincts. But here's the shift. Real connection doesn't have to exhaust you to prove it exists. Real love doesn't have to threaten to leave in order to feel valuable. When you begin to retrain your nervous system, when you allow yourself to sit in calm without running from it, you start to realize something powerful. You weren't addicted to them. You were addicted to the chaos. And the moment you choose peace over intensity, the replay begins to fade. You don't just miss them. You miss what you thought was coming. The future you built in your head felt real. The trips you imagined. The conversations you thought you would eventually have. The version of your life where everything finally made sense because they were in it. You weren't just attached to a person. You were attached to a possibility. And that possibility had weight. You replay the apology you hoped they would give. The moment you thought they would realize your value. The reunion scene your mind keeps perfecting, where everything is explained and restored. It's not the past you're clinging to. It's the future that never arrived. That's why letting go feels so heavy. Because you're not just releasing a memory. You're grieving a storyline. A life that only existed in projection, but felt emotionally solid. Your mind keeps returning to them because it's trying to salvage that imagined outcome. It wants the investment to pay off. It wants the waiting to mean something. But reality moves in a different direction. And here's where the shift begins. You have to separate the person from the fantasy. The real human being from the version you built around them. They may not have been capable of giving you the future you designed in your head. They may never have intended to. You're not weak for dreaming. You're human. But growth demands honesty. The breakthrough happens when you accept that the life you imagine with them is not the only life available to you. The apology may never come. The reunion may never happen. The story may remain unfinished. And yet, your future is still unwritten. When you release the outcome that never happened, you free yourself to create one that actually can. You feel it again, don't you? That rush of panic when their face appears in your mind uninvited. That ache that whispers you're not over it, that you're broken, that you should be stronger by now. Every thought becomes a verdict against yourself, a reminder that somehow you're failing at letting go. But here's the truth. Thoughts are not who you are. They are not proof of weakness. They are not evidence of incompleteness. They are passing moments, fragments of emotion, flickers of memory. They only have the power you give them. And every time you fight them, every time you tell yourself you shouldn't be thinking about them, you feed the fire. You chase it, and it runs faster, grows taller, and burns hotter. You have been treating your mind like an enemy, believing that control comes from suppression, when all it really wants is acknowledgement. When you stop struggling, when you stop trying to erase, you begin to see the rhythm. The thoughts arise. They drift. They fade. You can watch them without becoming them. You can feel the pull without surrendering your center. This is where the shift happens. You realize that the mind is not a cage. It is a river, and you are not the current. You are the observer. You can let the thoughts flow through you without losing yourself in the turbulence. You can acknowledge their presence without giving them meaning beyond what they are. Passing signals, echoes of a story you are still processing. The moment you stop assigning your worth to every memory, every replay, every lingering image, the feedback loop shatters. The grip loosens. The thoughts lose their authority. And when that happens, you step out of their shadow entirely. You are not defined by what occupies your mind. You are defined by the awareness that watches it, calm, steady, and finally free. You keep thinking about them, don't you? Long after the moments have passed, long after your life has moved forward in other ways, they still appear. At first, you may have thought it was a mistake, a wound that never healed, a lingering attachment that needed closure. But pause. Look closer. What if it's not about them at all? What if it's about you? The most persistent mental visitors are rarely in your life to punish you. They are there because they have ignited something within you, a spark you couldn't reach alone. Maybe they expose a fear you refused to face, a wound you tried to ignore, a desire you didn't dare admit. They force you to confront yourself, to feel fully, to awaken a part of you that had been dormant. That restless presence in your mind isn't chaos. It's a mirror. It's a catalyst. And this is where it transforms. Instead of asking how to erase them, ask, what is this connection teaching me? What part of me is still becoming? What truth have I ignored because I was too busy blaming them or wishing it away? Pain becomes insight. Obsession becomes clarity. The endless replay of memory begins to show patterns, triggers, lessons, a roadmap to growth. You start to see that their presence was never about holding on. It was about learning to stand stronger, think deeper, and evolve into someone capable of handling what once felt unbearable. You realize that nothing wasted itself in your mind. Every longing, every ache, every sleepless moment was pointing toward a part of you that needed to awaken. They didn't stay because they were meant to. They stayed because you weren't ready to see yourself without them. And now you are. This is a shift. What once felt like mental imprisonment becomes a doorway to your next level of being. The person in your thoughts becomes a reflection of what you are evolving into, whole, aware, and untouchable by the past. If you're ready to grow beyond what hurt you, comment, I'm evolving.